What Musk and Trump Still Have in Common by Chris Cutrone. Steve Bannon describes the MAGA agenda of Trump's presidency in three principles: regulated trade, limited immigration, and no more forever wars. These are all means to serve American national interests and democracy. Of course, these are Bannon's priorities and not necessarily Trump's own. Bannon sees three components of the Trump coalition in his election to a second term: the traditional Republican Party, the broligarchs of Silicon Valley and venture capital, and true MAGA. He sees three threats to the latter: the old political establishment, Wall Street, and the permanent bureaucracy deep state. Bannon singled out Elon Musk as a particular threat. Bannon, who had only a brief stint in Trump's first administration, has not had an official position in the second, and is relegated to mostly advising from the sidelines. Musk, however, was constantly at Trump's side. Not too much should be read into the people who happen to surround Trump. What are goals for various Trump supporters are merely instruments for his purposes, and moreover are disposable and can be sacrificed in negotiating pursuit of greater ends. Trump's method can be observed in his international relations and foreign policy as well. Looking at recent events, Benjamin Netanyahu has tried to use Trump, but Trump has constantly resisted this, turning the tables on Bibi by joining Israel's attack on Iran, by which Netanyahu sought to stop Trump negotiating with the Islamic Republic. But Trump entered Israel's 12-day war in order to end it, successfully using Israel's bombing campaign to reset negotiations with Iran. Ultimately, Trump's aims are the same of those of U.S. politics more generally: to maintain Pax Americana and leadership in global affairs, for which literally everyone is a potential practical collaborator and political ally. This is because all countries, and indeed all individuals, depend on capitalism, in which America has been and continues to remain predominant and central, and no one else can or wants to replace it. MAGA has always been a matter for the world. Trump can genuinely and legitimately claim to be trying to make not only America, but every country in the world great. It is in America's interest that all prosper. The only question is, by what means is this to be achieved? Just ahead of the 2024 Republican National Convention, Vivek Ramaswamy identified two competing factions among Trump's MAGA supporters: libertarians and protectionists, those who wanted to dismantle the deep state and those who wanted to use it to promote their own agenda. Ramaswamy posed this division as between himself and J.D. Vance, despite their long-standing friendship going back to early student days. Furthermore, Ramaswamy emphasized that such differences were not really over principles or goals, but merely represented alternative means to the common ends of MAGA. Elon Musk would seem to fit into the libertarian broligarch element of the MAGA coalition. He and Ramaswamy were placed in joint charge of Doge, the Department of Government Efficiency, and a division of labor was established between Vivek's goals, significant cutting of government employees, and Elon's methods, taken from his experience managing his companies, most recently drastic cuts to Twitter's staff. But Ramaswamy departed Doge before Trump's inauguration, ostensibly to allow him a gubernatorial run in Ohio for 2026. This left Musk leading the effort alone. Were his goals the same? Doge was controversial, not least within the Trump administration itself. Musk was reported to have clashed with two prominent cabinet members, Secretary of State Marco Rubio and Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent. It was Bessent whose disagreement with Musk precipitated Elon's eventual departure, timed to the anticipated end of his temporary government employee limit of 180 days. Both Rubio and Bessent opposed Musk's usurpation of their prerogatives as department heads, with Rubio objecting to loss of control over USAID, and Bessent insisting that he choose his own head of the IRS. It is significant that whereas Musk's Doge sought to root out waste, fraud, and abuse, Bessent, by contrast, listed revenue collection as third in his priorities for running the IRS, behind privacy and customer service, suggesting a certain lassitude about the budgetary bottom line in enforcing fiscal discipline on American capitalism, and turning a deliberate blind eye to tax scofflaws. Rubio is a potential presidential successor rival to Vance. Bessent is the point man and forefront public relations representative of Trump's overall economic plan to restructure the American and global economy via renegotiated trade relations, which includes use of tariffs and revaluing the US dollar as global reserve and common trade currency. Nevertheless, from early on after joining Trump's 2024 campaign, Elon had an outsized role, both in the late days of Trump's electoral campaign and after November, in the transition planning and implementation. Musk's appointed tasks were wide-ranging, including serving as Trump's envoy to open negotiations with representatives of the Islamic Republic of Iran soon after the election. Who is this man, and how did he achieve this political position? Elon Musk is the richest man in the world, heading several major companies, including Tesla, SpaceX, Starlink, The Boring Company, and Neuralink. He has been compared to Henry Ford, whose affordable automobiles promoted consumerism and suburbanization, as well as higher wages and an improved standard of living. There was a connection between capitalism and philanthropy, but it involved the transformation of humanity itself in 20th century society. Is Musk offering the same for the 21st century, now expanded to interplanetary proportions, with his vaunted goal of colonizing Mars? But Ford's entry into the political realm was less than stellar, associated with the rise of fascism. The memory of changes to capitalism in the 20th century still haunts the present, especially in the crisis of neoliberalism that was supposed to be the end of history, now stirring up all the old ghosts, including the specter of Marxism. Musk entered into politics through the hostile acquisition of Twitter, for which he paid an exorbitant amount in order to secure control of the platform. But he has been accused of, in effect, turning it over to neo-Nazis. His stated reason for doing so was to end censorship at the social media company, especially as initiated by the US government. Towards that end, he opened the company's internal records to a select group of journalists, including Matt Taibbi, Michael Schellenberger, Barry Weiss, and Li Fang, who published their findings in the Twitter files, producing a major expose of covert influence, including through cut-out private entities serving as intermediaries for U.S. intelligence and law enforcement agencies, supposedly to fight dangerous disinformation. Two main subjects were COVID and the Ukraine war. U.S. censorship of social media was not limited to Twitter, but took place across all digital platforms. Apart from ending such colluding with the government, Musk relaxed the company's voluntary internal restrictions on content. One of his first acts was to lift the ban on Trump, originally put in place after the January 6, 2021 riot by Trump supporters at the U.S. Capitol. Musk's political efforts were not restricted to his acquisition of Twitter. He also threatened to deprive Ukrainian government of use of his Starlink satellites in its U.S.-supported war against Russian invasion and annexation. It has been alleged that Musk's political switch away from the Democratic Party and towards Trump was due to his eldest child coming out as trans, that Elon was personally activated by the culture wars of the Biden presidency. Musk was also personally snubbed by the Biden administration as he was conspicuously not invited to their EV manufacturer summit at the White House. But he was not alone among major capitalists in shifting to Trump in 2024, as evinced by the attendance of all the major big tech founders and CEOs at Trump's second inauguration. This was remarkable considering that the very same people mobilized against Trump's re-election in 2020. So why has Musk now turned against Trump, announcing his own America Party? Was it merely a struggle of egos, whether with Trump's own or his other supporters and advisors? Was it, as the Trump administration intimated, due to the removal of tax incentive subsidies for electronic vehicles, such as Teslas? Was it the rejection of Elon's nominee for leading NASA? Was it a conflict of interest? As with Trump, there is the question of what Musk himself thinks, his own political vision, as opposed to his particular interests as a wealthy, straight, white, Gentile American male. Musk infamously has been preoccupied with looming economic collapse due to cratering reproduction rates and, relatedly, the fiscal cliff of unsustainable government spending. More distantly, there are the threats of nuclear war. He shares this fear with Trump, and so, like Trump, is concerned with the problem of nuclear weapons proliferation, and human-induced disease epidemics and other catastrophes of nature. Before his Trump allegiance, Musk was a prominent green capitalist concerned with the threat of man-made climate change. Indeed, Musk's business ventures can be seen as primarily motivated by such general social concerns, and hence are inherently political in character. Tesla as promoting energy efficiency and so lowering the carbon footprint of personal transportation. The Boring Company as alleviating traffic congestion and the asphalt and concrete jungle problem of large cities. Neuralink as overcoming the limits of the body. And finally, SpaceX as making humanity a multi-planet species less susceptible to self-destruction. This latter vision is of a certain political character and is basically liberal in nature, the desire for political liberalism preserving human self-determination through its diverse multiplicity. In this way, Musk's companies pursue on a macro level what Musk seeks at a micro level through his libertarian championing of the values of personal autonomy. Trump has called Elon a genius, and this goes beyond his entrepreneurial acumen, not only his inventiveness, but his organizational accomplishments leading and building his companies, thus demonstrating his ability to realize his visions and on a massive scale. In their current falling out, Trump has pointed to the role of government, contracts, and other subsidization in Musk's success. Was this a variety of Obama telling corporate CEOs that they didn't build their companies on their own, but instead depended on workers and other stakeholders, notably including government, for their business success? In the era of the 2008 financial crisis and resulting Great Recession, also of the contemporaneous Citizens United decision upholding the principle of corporate citizenship, there was public discussion of the sociopathic and even psychotic character of capitalist enterprises, perhaps selecting for these psychological characteristics in their management personnel, an argument that had already been developed in the film American Psycho in 2000. Steve Bannon sees a special threat to democracy in the capitalist class that results from its members' individual and collective narrow interests in their social role and activity in pursuit of profit. He has said, in a speech at the Vatican, that he agrees with Karl Marx that capitalism is destructive in that it commodifies everything and reduces all human relations to the cash nexus. He has also said that Lenin was right, that power is in the streets. While he respects the creative productivity of capitalist entrepreneurship, he thinks it must be actively subordinated to the public good. This vision means that Musk must not have his way in the political sphere. Like Bannon, Musk saw in Trump a vehicle for realizing his visions. But Trump has harnessed them to his political ambitions and would not allow himself to be used by them. As he said of Bannon, disputing his supposed role as chief strategist, "I am my own strategist." As Lenin said, in politics, it is always the question of whom. Who is using whom? The difference between singular vision and narcissism might be difficult to discern. There may also be a distinction between obsessive focus and antisocial behavior. The American socialist Eugene Debs called Theodore Roosevelt's vision of progressive capitalist reforms psychotic, in this way performing the usual conflation in public rhetoric of personal and political character. But the role of individuals in political life cannot be reduced to sociological or other stereotypes. The contributions of each are sui generis. Both Musk and Trump exemplify this to a frustrating degree. Each has his own version of the story in Frank Capra's 1939 film, Mr. Smith Goes to Washington. The phenomenon of Citizen Musk, as well as Citizen Trump, has become the problem of our time. What is the relation and potential resolution between populism and oligarchy in American capitalist democracy? Elon Musk hosted Saturday Night Live. For the Mother's Day episode in 2021, his mother Mae Musk appeared as well. He came out as neurodivergent, explaining his psychological condition of Asperger's syndrome, quote, running human in emulation mode, close quote. This was celebrated by the Democratic Party-aligned cognoscenti, but appeared later in a different light. In an interview with Tucker Carlson, Musk expressed his caution about AI by comparing his views to other developers, whom he found to be insufficiently concerned about its effects on humanity. Quote, I am human, and so I should be concerned with humanity, close quote. The logic of this statement is strangely stilted, but it reflects well the instrumentalization of humanity in capitalism. The affinity between Musk and Trump has been in their charming but also potentially horrifying naivete about politics and its stakes. Their alliance took place on this basis, and so has its dissolution. Trump's hostile takeover of the Republican Party was a matter of convenience. He chose it simply because it was easier to take over than the Democratic Party. Trump's voters include many former Democrats, and his second administration has included prominent ex-Democrats such as Musk. In departing from Trump over the Big Beautiful Bill, Musk has proposed a new America Party to represent the country's true interests. This would seem to show the limits of the businessman's approach to politics, treating it entirely instrumentally. But there is still the question of what ends Musk hopes to advance by means of politics. For not only the method, but the aims of capitalist politics are capitalist. And this raises the further question of what the means and ends of capitalism really are. Emil Durkheim said that we might mistake society for a means for furthering humans as a natural species, but that society rather uses the natural species for perpetuating itself. But then, what would be the actual ends of society? Though both Trump and Musk seem to be perfect instruments of capitalism, they both see capitalism as merely the means to their own ends, especially politically. Can capitalism be only the means and not the ends for humanity? Or must humanity only be the means for capitalism?